Hello, everybody. Welcome to It Was Tuesday with your host James Chen, aka Jay Chenzor, and on the menu today is some salty stuff over here. Okay, we've got salt in the house, ladies and gentlemen. So let's talk about it. Do the Street Fighter 6 players complain too much? We have reached a point right now where some people on Twitter, on social media these days, are saying that two Street Fighter players are complaining way too much. That they're the most, this is the most complaining some people say that they've ever seen in their lives. And that everybody is too salty about everything. And yes, happy Halloween to everybody out there. Hope you guys have got yourself a stash of candy, because the candy is a lot sweeter and shouldn't be as salty. So Halloween will definitely counteract a little bit of that salt. So there are a lot of people complaining about Street Fighter 6 right now, right? A lot of people complaining about Street Fighter 6. Are Street Fighter 6 players complaining too much? Are they being really, really whiny right now? No, I don't think they are. I really don't think they are. And I will explain to you why that I actually don't think they are, right? Because here's the thing, is that we have to keep in mind what the situation is and what the environment is. And you know, it's very different than what we were going through a long time ago when we just accepted stuff. Back in the day, you know, obviously we had no patches. We had nothing to even think about. I mean, someone even said, like, Street Fighter 2, everyone seemed happy. It's just in Street Fighter 2, there was no such thing as sequels. We didn't understand, even though it was a sequel, we weren't expecting patches. There was really no such thing as patches back then, even though we were getting patches. People don't realize that we did have patches for Street Fighter 2 in the arcades as well. But, I mean, the thing is, like, people didn't notice when we got them, stuff like that. We weren't knowledgeable enough to be able to make that kind of, to discern those kind of differences and stuff. And so, of course, we didn't complain back then, because we didn't really understand that there was an avenue for complaint. And we were all super mad, because honestly, in Street Fighter 2, if you didn't play Guile or Dhalsim, you couldn't win. Like, that's it. Player 2 had an advantage, because they only had to hit the joystick once to get to Guile. And remember, the other guy couldn't even pick Guile. They had to flip coins for who got to pick first. So if your main character was Guile and you were fighting another Guile, if you flipped coins and you lost and the other guy got Guile, you had to play somebody else. And nobody in the game could beat Guile. Dhalsim was the closest one. So, you know, it was obviously different a long time ago. So, yeah, for a lot of the old school people, it feels like a lot of people are complaining too much right now. But here's the thing. Let's look at this really carefully, okay, here. Why do we feel like people are complaining too much, right? Okay, one, social media is just really big, right? Like, FGC lives on Twitter. And Twitter is where you go and dump salt, okay? Like, let's just face it. If you're any sort of competitive anything, Twitter is where you go to dump salt. Because, you know, before it would just be like when you were playing with a friend offline, when you weren't playing online, whenever something stupid would happen, you'd turn to your friend and be like, your character is so bullshit, my character sucks, blah, 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 and you would just keep it between the two, and the other guy would just yell at you. But now that everybody's playing online, and we're not playing directly with somebody else, the first thing you do, I am guilty about this myself, is jump online and complain. Everybody remembers when I was playing Tekken, because I tweeted about Tekken every single night, because I was salty every single night when I played it. And I had nobody to yell at about it. When Street Fighter Duel first came out, you didn't see me complaining about it, even though I played it a lot, because I had one person in my DMs who was my Street Fighter Duel salt dumping ground, and I would just yell to him all the time, and he would hear it, so I never tweeted about it. Everybody needs the salt dumping ground, and unfortunately, in an era where social media is big, and two, we're all playing online. we're not playing locally anymore. We have good net code. So we're all playing online. And so when you're playing by yourself, the first thing you do is go online and complain and dump your salt on Twitter because you have to complain to someone. Again, as an emotional human being who does this all the time, I know this feeling. This is how I feel all the time. I need to dump salt every single time. Remember how much I used to complain about Lucia a long time ago. I'm not complaining about Kimberly right now because she's good and I'm winning with her. So I'm not complaining about Kimberly. I don't really need to dump as much salt. And yet, because I keep saying she needs an ODDP back, everyone thinks I am complaining and being salty about it. So that's kind of the situation right here. Another thing, right? There are more people playing Street Fighter 6 than any other fighting game right now. You know, a lot of people have uninstalled it. A lot of people have dropped it because, oh, my character sucks, or I hate Drive Rush. I'm tired of dealing with this. This just happens. We're in month 4. What fighting game have you ever played where by month 4 people aren't quitting and crying and just being frustrated with a fighting game? This is the natural course. This is the natural course of life right here. This is a standard thing. So a lot of people have uninstalled it, but still the player base for Street Fighter 6 is still extremely massive compared to previous fighting games. So that's just that many more people to be salty about, to be salty, right? There's just more people out there to be salty. And so it's just going to happen, right? And so I just don't feel like, seeing this many people complain about it is, it's not a fair way to look at it, right? I mean, the difference really is that everybody who's complaining about it is actually playing, so they can form their own little minute opinion. But you go to any sport, right? You look at football, you look at basketball, you look at hockey, you look at baseball. People are complaining about their team, yelling about their coaches, hating on players, and doing all these things over and over and over and over again. The difference is that because they're not actually playing, they're just these kind of fans. And for athletic sports, we've just kind of accepted the fact that these fans exist, right? You're going to be seeing all these people talking about LeBron James flopping all the time, where that was a travel. Why didn't the coach call that? The ref called that the foul. That was a foul. You stupid blind referees. That's just really what it is. And, but the thing is, because they're not players themselves, they're not like yelling directly about the game, like the rules and I'm losing to this, etc., the diving in soccer, etc. So, and yes, actually, Chad mode, you've beat me to it, because that's actually one of the main things that I wanted to talk about here. So Chad mode FGC, this was one of my main points. Someone else brought this up to me, and I think he's really, really, really correct on this. And that games are just really, really good now, which makes us spoiled. The truth is that Street Fighter 6 is so close to being such a wonderful game out the gate that it makes the things that are frustrating about the game stand out a lot more, in my opinion. And I really do think that this has a lot to do with it. Like, I have been like, you know what? The Street Fighter 6 training mode needs this. And you're just like, dude, this is like the best training mode ever. And like, does it need anything? Like, no, they need to make it a way so that on this setting I can do, like, does the training mode really actually need anything? Right. Less salt for netcode, more salt for other things, as Necromancy Black says, right? Look, Street Fighter 6 is in such a good condition. So yes, do the drive rushes seem more annoying? I complain about drive impacts all the time. Are drive impacts annoying? Of course they are. Are drive reversals shitty? Yeah, they're horrible. Is Lily completely unplayable? Of course she's unplayable. Is JP the best character in fighting game history? Obviously, right? Like, because the game is so close to being so. I mean, that's the craziest thing is like you talk to any one of these people. Like a lot of this conversation started when Zaffarino posted about like modern controls and was like, you know what, ban modern controls. I hate modern controls. Yeah, if you talk to Zaff, if you talk to someone like Big Bird or Angry Bird or Punk or whatever like that, all of them will tell you the balance is strikingly strong. I mean, Big Bird didn't rate anyone lower than an A rank, I think, or might have not even been lower than an A plus or something ridiculously like that. We just have this situation where the game is so close. And so when it's so close, the things that frustrate you even more. Like for me, I still hate perfect parries. I don't like perfect parries at all. And even now I'm trying to learn how to use them, and I've accepted that they're in the game. But like, I love Street Fighter 6. But if you get me to talk about drive impact or drive rush or drive parry or perfect parry or drive reversal, what's the first thing that's going to come out of my mouth? I'm going to say, I think they should patch it like this. Drive reversals need to be. Drive rush needs to have. Drive impact should be, and perfect parry needs a. Like I will immediately have patch suggestions for everything. Modern controls probably should. I will have a tweak for everything in the game. But I love the game. But the problem is, when I talk about this, it sounds salty, right? Like people see me go like, I hate drive impacts. And they're like, salty Street Fighter 6 player. And I'm like, I really think perfect parry should have blah, blah, blah. And then someone's going to be like, look at this, another salty Street Fighter 6 player, We are all in a position right now where we're trying to make the game as perfect as possible. And because we're in a world of patches and because we have a history, we have a precedent set by Street Fighter V going from what it was at the start, which was a good game in a certain way, to Street Fighter V at the end, which was a great game in a certain way. And the same people are in charge right now, Nakayama-san and Matsumoto-san, who are in charge of Street Fighter V at the end. There's this kind of like, wow, they're paying attention. They did this right. They did this right. This is interesting. This is cool. They made good choices. And so now you feel like that they can make better choices. Now you're at this position where you feel entitled to try to give them suggestions because you feel like it could be even better than it is right now. And so, a lot of people are complaining, Punk saying the game is random as hell and all this stuff. Dude, every fighting game is random as hell at the beginning. None of us know. It's 4 months in. Yes, are we better at fighting games than we've ever been? Of course. Do I think perfect parries are random as hell? Hell yeah, perfect parries are super random. I hate perfect parries because they're super random. But you know what? It's just going to get better. It's just going to get better as we go. Now, the big difference, obviously, is that we're not getting enough patches, right? And that's what a lot of people are complaining about. I mean, to be fair, we're 4 months in the game. In a vacuum, if you said, is 4 months too early for the first patch before a game came out, everybody would be like, yeah, let it bake. The game should deserve baking, blah, 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 blah. Now that Street Fighter 4 is out, you're like, why are you waiting 4 months for a patch? We need patches faster than that because JP sucks. And like, that's just how it is, right? But like, if you talk to anybody else beforehand, you're like, whoa, 4 months for a patch? Nah, game needs baking, like, honestly, like, that's just how it works, right? That's how people are when it comes to the game right now. And so that's the thing, is that we feel like it's so close to being the perfect game that we want these changes because then we feel like it would make it a better game to us, right? Now, no fighting game is ever going to be perfect for everybody out there, so it's already a pipe dream to begin with. But to be fair, a lot of people out there are like, oh, 100% of the complaints of Street Fighter 6 are valid. Yes, yeah. And like, it's just like, really? Come on, like, stop. But there are a lot of valid complaints out there, right? Also, depending on whether you agree with them or not. Like, Punk says perfect parries are random. Do I agree? Of course I agree. Now, I say drive impacts are stupid. Do people agree with me? Not everybody does. A lot of people are like, nah, let them rock. You could react to them. It's so easy to react to. And I'm like, but yeah, exactly. It's almost like it's too easy to type out an opinion, which is why I avoid Twitter like the plague. Kizzy K says 3 years. Wait. He says you should Street Fighter 6 should wait 3 years before a patch. But this is why I personally don't think everybody is complaining too much, because I just feel like, okay, so let's put it this way. Are more people voicing their complaints on Twitter than before? Yes. We are seeing a lot of people complaining, but I don't see it as whining as much, right? There's a difference between the people who don't play the game and are like, this is stupid, I've uninstalled the game because of this. And they're looking for the top players for the validation, right? So when a top player is like, oh my God, Manon sucks. And then someone's like, that's exactly why I uninstalled the game. Thank you. But the thing is, if you're Angry Bird or if you're Big Bird and you're like, look, this is too good, this is too broken. You've played a lot, and it's them being frustrated, but it's like they're trying to get their voices heard. They know they're in a position where Capcom might listen to them. So do I see it as whining and complaining? Not really. I see it as constructive criticism. Whenever I come out and I'm like, they should change this because it's from a constructive criticism standpoint. So, Cron Blackblade, I love this. Thank you. Thank you, Cron Blackblade, for typing into the chat for your first time. He says, I own a video game company and I get a lot of patch advice from players that would really screw up the game. Thank you. That is exactly right. I will still go back to the Street Fighter 4 days where people told me that Cammy's dive kick. Vanilla Street Fighter 4, in the Cammy forums, people were like, Cammy's dive kick should be an overhead. And I was like, I am a Cammy player, and what? What? Are you crazy? And that wasn't even the only buff that guy wanted. He wanted to buff like 5 things for Cammy that were all ridiculous. And the guy was like, this would probably make Cammy decent. And I'm like, what are you even talking about? This would make the character the most broken character in the game. And they're like, no, man. Like, people don't understand how this works, man. People don't understand how this works. So, yeah, I think the people say players are complaining too much wasn't there for Street Fighter 5. It was always like this. That's a great point, Sinners, is that a lot less people were paying attention. More people are paying attention to Street Fighter 6. And so a lot of people are seeing it now kind of for the first time. Shout out to MYK in the chat, by the way. Really had a blast commentating Tekken 7 with him. He definitely made it so that my commentary didn't suck at first attack. So shout outs to MYK. Really appreciate that. Yeah, the Maximilian made a video on balancing. Your comments are very similar. Exactly. There's a lot of reasons why people are complaining. But the problem is, if you only look at the complaints as people whining and people being salty. Now, again, Punk is an emotional person. And he tweets the same way that I do, except I've been around for twice as long as Punk. So I have kind of learned to hold back a little bit. But if you've read my Teppen tweets, that is clearly not the case, right? Like, the way I tweeted about Teppen is the way Punk tweets about fighting games, okay? Like, clearly, there's almost no difference whatsoever. And yeah, Punk, I mean, people keep mentioning Punk, never uses punctuation. It's because it's a tweet from the heart. He doesn't have time to punctuate. He's just typing as fast as he can, dude. I used to do the same thing. In Street Fighter Alpha 3, I already said I had an Alt Games SF2 post where I said X Dulcim needs to be banned at the beginning of Alpha 3. Like, few months into Alpha 3, I was like, X Dulcim needs to be banned because this character is broken. Anybody can pick him up and he's super good. X Dulcim, which didn't even turn out to be the best ism. Okay? Dhalsim in Vism is actually a stronger character. You know, A Dhalsim is a better character. No, X is the super turbo one. It's the shitty ism. It's the ism that had absolutely no life. But look, I was the same way as Punk, 100%. So again, I get what's happening. I get where he's coming from. A lot of people are just venting. They're just venting, and we don't have the offline venting as much. You know, that is another benefit of arcade play is when you were playing with somebody else and your friend was there, you would vent to your friend all the time. And like I said, the beautiful part is the guy who killed you with the super broken tactic would then lose to the next guy who beat all those broken tactics, and you're like, or that guy would actually beat everybody else with a tactic, and you can just be like, see, it's super good. The arcade really sealed us from a lot of that kind of salt out there. I don't see it as more people complaining than ever. I really, really don't. And I know a lot of people are going to be like, are you crazy, James? Like, how can you even say that? Look at Twitter. But again, as an emotional human being, I can suss out the difference between salty, whining complaints, a frustration salt tweet, and just constructive criticism. Just really constructive criticism out there. You know, when Angry Bird tweets out like, can we finally talk about Luke being better than Ken? You know, he's a Ken player, and, you know, he has reasons to believe Luke is very strong. And so, you know, look, he has every right to tweet that. We all have every right to tweet what we want to do. But, like, if you're just going to sit there and look at this giant collective as everybody complaining, it's frustrating, right? And you're just going to frustrate yourself. The amount of people who are like, I uninstalled the game after 2 weeks because Drive Rush sucks and whatever. Dude, that's not why you're losing, dude. Trust me. That's not why you're losing. It's an obvious reason. It's an obvious thing. And somebody else on Twitter complained about it. And so now you can feel justified complaining about it too. Trust me, that's not why you uninstalled the game. All right. Again, I hate Drive Impact. I'm dying to drive impacts. I thought I muted Discord. What the hell? Discord is supposed to be muted. Oh, Jesus Christ. I got beat up by Drive Impact. I whined and complained about Drive Impact. You know what I'm doing right now? I'm still losing to Drive Impact. But I'm still playing the game. Because you know what? This just happens in fighting games. This is what exists in fighting games. This is what you deal with in fighting games. This is just how fighting games work. You will be killed by something. You will find something super annoying. I hate Ken. I will complain. Jake Ryan found out the hard way how much I hate Ken in Street Fighter 6. But you know what? You persevere because that's what fighting game players do, right? If you think you're going to play a fighting game without running into something that you think is super cheap or super broken, then you know what? You will find every reason possible to quit the fighting game, right? And it sucks because I don't want to be that guy who's like, you know what? You didn't have the strength. Let's weed these guys out. Yeah. Like, I don't want to be that. The reason why I say this is not to insult the players who quit. The reason why I say this is because I'm trying to help the players who find the difficulties to go, you know what? Maybe I can accept the fact that I'm weak to this tactic and try to make up for it through other means, right? Try to do something else from a different aspect of the game to make up for it. You know, there is that mentality out there that you don't have to be good at every part of the game. I've been terrible at anti-airs my whole life. I played Cammy in Super Turbo. I had a safe uppercut, okay? So whenever I blocked the jump attack, I would just uppercut. That was my way around it. So if they didn't do a true block string, I would hit them. If they blocked, I'd be safe, right? I made up for it through a different means. You know, this is just kind of the things that you do in fighting games, whether you're aware of it or not. That's why I have that habit. Whenever I block a jump attack, I try to DP, which a lot of people call me out on and block it and murder me. Yeah, Cammy's ST. No, all the DPs in Super Turbo are invulnerable. They're all invulnerable. Are you kidding? There's only 3 characters that don't have invul DPs in that game, and that's Bison, Zangief, and Dulcim. And even Zangief's Lariat could be used pretty decently as an invul DP. That's because you're doing Ryu's DP too early, Forest. They have invincibility deep. If you do a full deep uppercut, you will never lose to a jump in Super Turbo. But what was I even saying here? Oh yeah, I'm not trying to say like, "Hi, you wouldn't have lasted anyway, you scrub. You're too weak to last." It's just, I'm trying to help people understand that, when you play the fighting game and you get frustrated by one aspect of the fighting game so easily that it makes you quit, it's most likely that you would have found a lot of things to make you quit, right? If you're using Ken and you aren't winning and everyone talks about how cheap Ken is, you're going to be like, this sucks. I hate the fact that I can't win with this character. It's so broken. He's not broken. Why can't I win with him? I quit. If you play Lily and everyone's like, Lily's the worst character in the game, you're like, yeah, I want to play Lily, but I can't because she's the worst character in the game. I quit. Like, you'll find a reason to quit. And that's the hardest part about playing fighting games. Again, you have no support system, right? It's so easy to want to give up because it's so difficult to get good at fighting games. And this is why I tell people fighting games are hard. This is why I never try to trick people into thinking fighting games are easy. You can learn it. Like, no, fighting games are really freaking hard. And so you have to dedicate some effort into it. And, the reason why I talk about this is because I'm hoping maybe if you're someone who's watching this video who has quit, maybe you'll watch it and be like, you know what, he's right. I'll try again. I'll try again and try to come in with a different mentality, and that's kind of what I'm hoping for here. But for all the top players, the egotistical ones who will tell you like, oh, well, you're just a scrub. You couldn't last out in these streets, blah, blah, blah. I mean, there is truth to that, but again, their delivery is just the wrong way. They're in a position where they feel superior, right? So they're going to deliver it that way. But, when you're coming from a position like me, who knows how hard it is to play fighting games, who knows how much work it takes to get good at fighting games, clearly it's a lot harder than that. And it takes a lot of work, right? And yeah, and some people don't play games to work. Absolutely. Absolutely. So that's the thing. And we don't want to sit there and like yell at people for not getting good at fighting games. Because who has time for that? Honestly, not a lot of people have time for that. And people have to realize that it's a hard journey. And if they want to do it, it's okay to lose a bunch. It's okay to struggle. It's okay to work at it until you get better at it. A lot of the people that I talk to on YouTube, on Twitter, they're like, well, I really only play the game like 3 hours a week. Like, what are we expecting out of players, right? What are we expecting out of these people? Are we really going to tell them that these players are bad? Like, they're barely learning. They're barely putting the time in to get to that point. They're just trying to have fun, man. Just let them have fun. And so, no, I don't think that there's a lot of Street Fighter salt out there. That may be opposite to what a lot of people are saying. It's just, of course, just given the circumstances online, you don't have someone you're playing with directly to complain to. For those people who like to tweet out salt, I really recommend having your salt dump buddy. Just find somebody that you can just be salty about with everything. Make sure you find someone who knows the game so that they can also just agree with you or disagree with you as they see fit, to help you get over the salt. But having that dumping ground is so important. People don't realize having a salt dumping ground for any game is one of the most valuable things you can have, which is why coaches are going to become super important in fighting games in the future, in my opinion. I think we should have more coaches, because you'll have someone to be able to complain to. Like if you're sitting there and you're Shao Hai and you're complaining and you're training partner is Dako, who can use every character in the game, he can be like, hey, well, you know what? Actually, you're falling for this. This character's weak here. This is not actually a true frame trap. You can do this stuff. Or he can just be like, yeah, that's really cheap. And that makes you feel better. Like, seriously. Like, sometimes you're like, God, I hate JP. He's so cheap. And the other guy's like, yeah, he's really broken. Right? God, why does he get this? Right? And why does he get this? Yeah, why does he get this? And now you're not tweeting on Twitter anymore. Ta-da! So, yeah, a lot of people care. I agree with that, Original Gamer. SF6 is so good / fun that a lot of people want to be good at it. That may be the reason for the unusual amount of bitching, because a lot of people care. I said that earlier, if you just got in, Original Gamer, that one of the biggest reasons that I think a lot of people are complaining is because the game is so close to being good. And also you hear a lot of people saying this game is great, this game is fun. And yet when you go online, you just get bodied by stupid things. And you're like, why can't I enjoy the game? Where's the fun? I don't get it. Like, you get mad that you aren't seeing the same thing that other people are seeing. It happens. And it's frustrating when you read someone going, God, this game is so fun. And meanwhile, you're just miserable. Like, it's a tough situation to be in. Social media exacerbates a lot of things in very different directions. I don't think this is more complaining than has been in the past. It's just, long time ago in the past, we didn't expect patches at all. We were just like, we're stuck with whatever game we got. And, once we got to the console era and more social media, that's where everyone just started complaining about things because we know patches are coming. Do I think Street Fighter 6 needs more patches? Yeah, I do. I really don't think a year is the right amount of time. I think 6 months is the right amount of time. So right now, because the game came out in June, just wait until after Capcom Cup and patch it. That'll be about 8 months at that point. But maybe even sooner than... No, you don't want to do it too late. Like, if you're going to patch Street Fighter 6, you're going to do it now or, like, never. Because you don't want to change it before Capcom Cup. But after EVO, after Capcom Cup, I think are two great places to patch the game. I think that those are the best reasons to do that. Honestly. So, but learning music is not as bad because you're not losing to somebody else. Someone tweeted one time, they're like, look how wholesome the Tetris community is. Even when they lose to someone else, they're all happy and they hug because you're not sending junk to each other. You're not actually fighting the other guy. You're literally just trying to score higher than them. And then when you die, it's usually always going to be your own mistake, your own fault. So you can't ever be mad at the other guy for just playing better than you. Learning music is the same way. You sit there and you try it and it can be frustrating, but you don't get mad at someone else. You don't feel like somebody else is humiliating you. A lot of people, when they lose in fighting games, the problem is the fear of humiliation. And that's what gets a lot of people salty. So honestly, it's not quite the same thing. It really is about losing to another human that creates that kind of salt, and I have been trying very, very hard. That's why I teach people that it's a 2-player game early on, because you have to get used to the idea that you're fighting someone else, but that also that the person that you're fighting is going through similar kind of like, I should just try this. Oh my God, this is working. I'll keep doing it. Like they're going through their own thought process. And if you're both bronze players or both silver players, you're both going through the same struggles. They're in silver. Clearly, they're not having, much more success. And so if you lose to them, they're probably just struggling. And it just so happens that whatever it is that they chose to do in silver works on you. It's a very difficult environment to survive in because there is no camaraderie. This is why I keep talking about why I think fighting games are a social pastime. And why I said that if you had a good arcade, the arcade scene was better because the camaraderie helps a lot. The interpersonal relationships help a lot. Fighting games are very difficult, and they'll never not be difficult. That's the thing. It doesn't matter what you do. You can put in modern controls, dynamic controls. You can do everything you want. Someone is going to be way better than everybody else. And it's going to be frustrating for a lot of people. And that's just the way it works. You can never be good. Anything that you can be good at instantaneously is not worth getting good at. All right? That's just the truth, right? If you're literally playing coin flip, the game, war, the game, like, you're not going to get good at it, right? Is it worth trying to get good at coin flip? Is it worth getting good at war? The card game, war? It's not. So always keep that in mind. The things that you want to get good at, the harder they are, it means the more worth it they are to get good at. And honestly, if there's something else that's more important to you, do that other thing. If art is more important to you, if learning the guitar is more important to you, hell, if learning your father's trade is more important to you, if learning how to program or getting a degree is more important to you, if finding your true love to start a family is more important to you, if speed cubing is more important to you, if basket weaving is more important to you, if interior decoration is more important to you, do that. But, just if fighting games are just a side hobby, they're just a side hobby, honestly. So, I think that's all I really got to say about the salt. Anything else, if anybody brings up, thank you, Straw Hat Shadow, who says, please never end this podcast for real. It's literally the best of all time. Thank you, Straw Hat Shadow, especially as a first-time chatter. I hope you found this podcast very useful to you as well and encouraging as well. Because that's what I'm here for. I mean, honestly, that's my goal. Ever since I started in the fighting game community, all I ever tried to do was get more people to play fighting games, whether it was through FAQs, through videos, through tutorials, articles, and now commentary, and now podcasting. So that's just the way it goes. That is what fighting games are about. So again, if fighting games are making you salty, take a step back. Let's address one last thing here. What if you are a player who wants to get good? You do have the time. You literally do have the time. I've been talking about all these casual situations. You've got other important things. You're busy, blah, 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 blah. But let's say you are someone who's like, I want to get good, and you're not getting good because you're dying to drive impacts, to drive rushes and stuff like that all the time. And this is where the hardest part of fighting games really comes down to, is that there's a lot of internal stuff that you have to figure out. It's very difficult. You have to figure out why you're having trouble with certain things, and you have to understand how people think and how people feel, and understanding that your opponent is human and they tend to want to do things in certain situations and they have patterns too. And then you got to take the time to study the frame data, et cetera, et cetera. It's a lot of work. It is a lot of work, but one of the best things you could do is try to find someone who can help you. Find a training partner for that dumping ground kind of thing. For salt, or for, oh God, I played this online match, I did this, it was so cool. So you can tell somebody about it. It might not be cool to IDOM, or it might not be cool to, like Justin Wong, but you landed this 4-hit combo that you've been practicing the whole time and you want someone to tell, or come into my chat, twitch.tv/jchenzor. Come in here and tell me, ask me questions. People have seen me hijack my own streams 1,000,000 times to all of a sudden give super detailed lessons on how to play characters. I didn't even know how to play DJ, and I helped someone figure out all these Oki setups with DJ and all these tests to try to figure out how to blow up button mashing and stuff like that. So come to my chat, twitch.tv/jchenzor, whenever I'm playing Street Fighter, and I'm more than happy to help. So but yeah, if you are someone who's trying to get good at fighting games and you're having difficulty with it, the other thing to really, really, really understand that's very, very important is you're not the only one, right? If you're on Twitter, you're not following everybody who's struggling in Street Fighter 6. You're following Punk, who's like, I got 2,300 MR in Japan. I've master ranked with every character. And then you follow Justin Wong, and he's like, I master ranked with every character. Random was my highest win percentage, you know? And then you follow like all these people. Yeah, it doesn't help. It doesn't help. I even look at it and I'm like, Jesus Christ. Like, I'm a commentator and I see Sajam and he's like, yeah, I've mastered with every character. And I'm like, Jesus Christ, what the hell, man? Like, this is not easy. So it's tough if all you're doing is looking at other people's successes and comparing it to you. But like I said, you're not following the thousands of people out there who are having as much trouble as you. Honestly, like, that's just the way it works. So don't get discouraged. Keep going. Keep playing if it's something that you really want to be good at. And then just try to hit up people advice, make friends, find training partners and stuff. That helps a lot. And again, you know I have 2 Discords, which is confusing, the Ultra Chen Discord and the J Chenzor Discord. I'm still the Chenzor Dynasty Discord. I'm trying to figure out what to do about that. But the 2 good places to try to hit up other beginners. In particular, the Ultra Chen TV Discord is really, really good for that. So, P Wing Blade says, yeah, I knew going to this game I would only play it when I really felt like it. I've actually been getting the urge again since releases have slowed down some. I am more of a variety gamer than just strictly one type of game like fighting games, so I'm just fine playing for bursts in time and landing some of the stuff hope I remember how to do. Exactly. And Doc Helmet says, can confirm James will help out if you need. I've learned a ton from him. So thank you very much. So yeah. Original Gamer says it sucks when people forget that it's a video game meant for fun, not some measure of your worth or a clout race. Yep. CP skills. Oh, is that what CP actually stands for? CP skills? Ooh, so he says my cerebral palsy significantly affects my limbs, like my right hand, to the point where I can't double tap buttons with my right fingers and thumb. I remember when an able-bodied person saying fighting games were too hard, I remember when an able-bodied people saying fighting games were too hard, you to shock me. I don't remember. I don't know what that sentence was supposed to mean. I apologize. And yes, CP does stand for cerebral palsy. Okay. And Nick says, James, you are the Dwayne The Rock Johnson of the FGC. You are the people's champion. Look, I wish I could do the one eyebrow thing. I have to do it like, I don't know how he does it to be, but all I can say is, but what can I say except you're welcome? So there you go. That's the best I can do. But there you go. So salt happens. Salt happens. When I had my Tekken Rage video, I didn't ask anyone to take it down. I wasn't embarrassed by it because it's just great indication of the kind of salt that we endure. That's just all it is. And you know what? I'm not Punk. I'm not Ajax Fidelity who can play like 19,000 games. So, it's tough for a lot of us out there. So keep up with it, man. Not everybody out there is just picking up fighting games and being like, wow, this is easy. So if you're not salty when you lose, were you really playing? There's a lot to that quote. But there's also such a thing as people who just don't get mad. There are some people out there who are just happy and they don't get salty and they're still playing. So, it's just how it is. Nothing is ever going to be a true 100% statement. So it was a little bit of the lag that made me mad, but the reason why I got mad in the Tetris Rage video most likely was because I dropped a killing combo. I dropped my killing combo and I had no health, and I predicted correctly that my opponent was going to go low. But since I had no health, why would you not go for an unblockable low? So I tried to parry, but the guy did snake edge, which is super slow. Why would you go for a snake edge? And he hit me. So on top of that, it was like a giant snowball effect of things that made me super mad because I was like, I shouldn't have lost. And then I made the right read, but he did it in a way that I didn't think he was playing right. and it beat me, and it just led to the absolute just frustration. So that's just all it is. But that's how fighting games are, man. And everybody goes through it, and it's okay. It's absolutely okay. All right, so there we go. That's enough for Street Fighter 6 salt here. Do I think people are salty? Nah, I mean, there's a lot to complain about when you feel like the game could be even better. Like, if you play a really crappy game, are you going to be sitting here and being like, they should tweak this by 1 frame so that this can do this and this? Like, if you're playing a kind of a Kusoge fighting game, you're like, ha, ha, and you just have fun with your broken stuff, right? Like, it's just how it works. But when your game is this close to being maybe perhaps one of the most legit competitive, you can play almost any character you want fighting game, and the best people are still winning, like, you'll complain because you want it to be even better, honestly. So, oh, you're in the chat of that clip, Peter0611. Probably. You've been around for a very long time, and I appreciate the support very, very much. Of course, Peter0611 was referring to the Tekken clip. So, people get banned for saltiness moment in FGC? No, nobody's ever been banned unless they harm someone else. I was watching an ST Japanese tournament stream, and they were saying ST is Kusoge, and I was like, what? I mean, I was commentating a Super Turbo event one time, and they're like, Super Turbo was like chess, and I was like, what? Super Turbo is like freaking paintball, dude. Like, you just spray bullets everywhere and hope you kill them. And Super Turbo is my favorite fighting game to play, okay? Look, if anybody tries to tell you that Super Turbo is the bastion of fair in footsies, they haven't played Super Turbo. Super Turbo is the most degenerate fighting game, and we love it because it's degenerate, dude. Like, honestly. It is so degenerate. There's a reason why everyone watches Mao plays Vega and just laughs, right? There's a reason why, Matsun told me that Japan has strict gun laws because if guns were allowed, everyone would shoot all the claw players. They take it with a grain of salt out there. Like, we all know ST is just absolute madness, dude. Like, we have absolute madness in that game, but we love it. We love that. It's so great. So I always have to shower after watching Mao annihilate a tournament. Yep. Exactly. So there you go. That'll be it for my saltiness stream over here. Again, thank you guys for tuning in here, and hope you always enjoy the very different kind of discussion that I try to bring to the fighting game community. I really appreciate all you guys who listen, watch to the end, especially because this is long form content. I know a lot of people have a lot of better things to do in their day than to listen to me prattle on for an hour and a half or 2 hours. But if I'm helping your commute, if I'm helping your life at work, if I'm helping you through your chores, etc., if I'm helping you through your exercise at the gym, whatever the case is, I really do appreciate it. I am trying to hope maybe to find myself an editor who can make like shortened versions of these that just kind of get to the point, or maybe even YouTube shorts that just cut out like the significant parts of the stream. So that way people can just get small tidbits here and there. So, any case, I will, for those of you on YouTube, I will talk to you guys later. Keep an eye out for all this other stuff. Not 100% sure what order I'm going to put these things out, although I'm pretty sure this is going to go first. So keep an eye on the other things over here. A match analysis coming soon. This is going to be Shine versus IDOM from ECT Top 8. But other than that, thank you guys for tuning in. Make sure you leave a comment, subscribe. And the day that this podcast graced your ears was the most important day of your life. But for me,
it was Tuesday.